How's it going, everybody? It's Eli here from TreeFall Studios. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about one of my games that I'm currently working on called the Perplexing Orb 2. I'm going to be showing the problems and how I overcame those problems specifically in the creation of World 3 for the game. I'm also going to be taking a deeper dive into the life of an indie game developer and what the work looks like to make these types of things happen. If you're new to the channel, my name's Eli and I run an indie game development studio called TreeFall Studios. I've released games on the Nintendo Wii U as well as the PlayStation 4. On this channel, I make videos showcasing my games and their progress, as well as making videos about how to get started in game development. If that sounds interesting to you, please be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a video upload. All right, with that being said, let's get into the video. So World 3 in the Perplexing Orb is a fantasy castle-based theme. And you're floating up in the clouds with like haunted trees and castle towers all around you while you roll over brick stones with rickety planks in destructible environments. So the main focus and problem that I needed to overcome for World 3 was to create falling platforms. That was the first challenge, which came pretty simply. I just wanted a triggered platform that when you rolled over it, it cracked and then fell off into oblivion. My next problem that I had to overcome was getting that to become a little bit more realistic. What I needed to have happen were the individual planks on the platform needed to fall at different times, so it didn't just look like one model just fell when it was built up with multiple models. The next issue that I needed to tackle was to make it even more realistic and make it more personalized to each player playing the game. So I set up a set of parameters and made sure that the game would choose randomly a few planks to stay behind, to crack and break, but not fall all the way down into oblivion, and then choose the rest of the planks to fall, give them a different order of fall time, and have them fall one at a time or two at a time away from the rest of the planks. And the final huge issue to tackle this week was getting those falling platforms to reset and all go back to their regular position if you fall off the stage and die. So we're going to take a look now at some of the code and some of the behind the scenes footage of how I got these platforms to work. I'm also going to talk a little bit about how long each of these activities took, because you're going to see a really shortened version, and I kind of want to give you a little bit of insight into the whole process. Alright guys, so I usually don't really show off too much code in the devlogs, but this week we're going to be taking a deeper look at it. I'm going to be talking a little bit about how long this took to make, and then we're going to jump back into the video cuts and talk a little bit more about what my average work days look like and how long it takes to get this type of stuff done, in case you're interested in doing it yourself. So basically, there are just a few things here. This is rather small code, and if you're new to code, this might look complicated, and if you're advanced, you might think this is really simple and dumb looking. So I basically just have a boolean here, which is destroy all planks, and this basically, if it's true, all the planks will fall and none are allowed to stay, and if it's false, some of them can stay. So that's like the cool part of the randomization here. We've got a boolean here that's going to be making sure we only run this code once when the player enters the field, and then we have a list of the child transforms. This is getting the rigid bodies, or the components that handle physics, in each of the individual planks. And so basically what happens here, this is a trigger function. As the player, that's what this is, any object that runs into a trigger will run this code. So we're checking right here to make sure that is the perplexing orb that is touching this code, and then if the player runs into it, we only run this once, we do a few things here. So what's happening here, this will be the audio. It will play a crack noise, which I don't have yet, so it's commented out. And then the entire planks, all of them, the whole object instantly jumps down like a second. This is basically a visual cue where it cracks and it falls down and you go, oh crap, this is about to fall, I got to get out of here. And then we run the individual coroutines for each plank, and I'm going to talk about the more complicated one right here.
So what happens is we check for a random variable. That random variable is going to be 1 or 0. If it's 0, we're going to go ahead and drop down. So what we do is we make this even more random. We check for another random variable. I'm using a switch statement here, which is a little bit more efficient than if-elsing this. And basically, if it's 0, 1, or 2, there's going to be a different time that we wait in order to fall. After we throw in the seconds right here to the wait time, the gravity is turned back on and we're allowing the object to use physics, so it just falls into oblivion. Here, this is the case where if it was actually going to be 1, we would just stay. But for certain level designs, we need all the planks to fall anyways. For the levels where all the planks just rest on other planks, it would look strange if some of the planks stayed behind and didn't fall with the rest of the planks, and there was just floating planks in midair. So that's the situation where we would have destroy all planks true, and then we would run the same code where it just falls again. But what happens is, if it's touching a brick, a platform, and we're allowed to, leave some planks behind to make it look cool, we literally do nothing. In the else statement, nothing happens. So if it was a 1 and destroy all planks is false, it just stays behind. And this code is on different planks, allowing certain ones out of these 6 to stay behind. So it's rather simple looking, but it actually took a long time for me to write this code. I spent almost a whole day working on this, because this wasn't the original code was not like this. I tried a ton of things that didn't work, had to delete them, and then on top of that, testing out the different values for the different speeds, creating the models, getting them in the levels, setting up the physics for each of them. It took this took 5 or 6 hours to get correct. So let's jump in and talk about what my average workday looks like and how long I work just to get these things to, get the game rolling.
Running an independent game studio on your own is a massive undertaking. There are so many different factors that you have to consider while wearing so many different types of hats. Wearing the business hat and managing finances, to the marketing hat where you have to create content such as these videos, screenshots, and other shareable media to put on social media to market your brand. That doesn't even take into account all the time that it takes to develop your game. Doing all of these things can make your work hours seem pretty crazy. The good news is, though, by working for yourself, you get to determine the hours that you work depending on what you need to get done in the day. On average, on a small day, I could work anywhere between 6 to 8 hours. Probably at least 3 to 4 days a week I do that. And then the other 3 days a week, I'm working 10 to 12 hours. It really tends to balance itself out with like really hard dev days where I'm just working on the game nonstop. I get in the zone, put on some just beats, listening to it on YouTube while I just develop, write code, make new levels for hours and hours. And then other days, there's days like this where I'm focused on working on creating content for the YouTube channel to promote the games, as well as share stuff on social media and work on doing the accounting and taking care of the spreadsheets, keeping the books, and making sure everyone gets paid. Another crazy thing about indie game development is, although I try my best to try to make sure I can structure my day by getting up early in the morning and getting to work, sometimes it's hard to determine when the great ideas are going to hit. Usually late at night, I'll get some kind of idea right as I'm trying to go to sleep. And instead of going to sleep, I just can't get it out of my head, so I gotta get up, yank on the lights, grab some pen and paper, and scratch it all down. If it's code that I just all of a sudden just came up with as I'm trying to go to sleep, which is great that it came to me, but also super annoying, I'll have to go ahead and get on the computer and type it all out, which extends my stay into the evening. I want to say a couple more things about the varying crazy hours of the schedule. It can also get way worse when it's close to game time release. People really talk about the controversy of AAA studios and crunch and trying to release games by a certain deadline so they can make a lot of money. But people don't really think about it too much when it comes to indie games. I run my own studio. I'm by myself with a few other people that I also contract to help work with me sometimes. But if I'm not releasing games, I'm not making money. And at a certain point, that money dries up, and I have got to get out another game before it's too late, or else the studio is just going to have to shut down. So I basically have to put myself into crunch when it's getting close and there's only a few months left, and I know that I've got to get another game out soon. You got to be careful, because you got to take into account the timing of how long it's going to take to get paid after the game comes out, because every company pays on a massive delay, especially for indie developers. That's a really massive delay. And on top of that, you don't know if anything's going to go wrong in your certification progress when getting your ports ready for all the consoles you're going to release on. So sometimes right towards the end, I could just be crunching away and something could go wrong right in the last minute of certification, and it doesn't matter what kind of plans I had or what I was doing before, it's got to get fixed. I'm the one who's got to fix it, and it's got to be done right now. Even with this crazy kind of schedule, I wouldn't give up developing indie games for anything. It's been a dream of mine to be able to create experiences that other people enjoy and have fun playing with their friends and family, just like I got to experience video games growing up throughout my life. I hope that with this channel that I can inspire you to go out there and just try and just go ahead and work. If it's your dream, just follow your dream and go ahead and work on your own video games too. I give all sorts of tips on this channel on how to get started in game development. And if you took anything out of this video from seeing some of the ways I work on my games, how long I work, what it's like to be an indie game developer, please be sure to drop a like. Even though we're a small channel, every like helps so much with spreading the reach of TreeFall Studios to help and impact more people. I gotta give a very special thank you to everybody who supports TreeFall Studios on patreon.com. Making money in indie games is really difficult, especially in 2020. And to keep our small team running, every little contribution that you guys do for us over on Patreon means the world to us. And I gotta give a special shout out to Carmen Red and Zach Ware. Thank you so much for everything you do for TreeFall Studios on patreon.com. If you guys are interested in checking out the Patreon page, there'll be links in the description below. With all that being said, I'm gonna catch you guys in the next video.